Welcome back, dear participators, to The Stranger, a game show, Flesh and Blood edition, featuring the Wizard, who arrives precisely when he means to, flesh and blood friend, Darren. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so stoked to be here and on time. So that's awesome.
Oh, I was late. I had to drive around. I had to go to the grocery store. I had to put things away.
Yeah, man.
Bags.
That's the way the life is, dude. So thanks for making me feel. I don't often get to be the early one. So thanks for making that. This is like a different feeling for me. Like, it's pretty exciting. So thank you.
Yeah, you are known in our friend group as traveling behind time, also eating slowly, so quite like just literally physically, it just takes a long time for time to occur within you and around you.
Yeah, things are slow, which is a blessing and a curse. But yeah, food is probably why I'm late for most things, because it takes me 5 times as long to eat anything than most people. So that doesn't help anything.
Okay, so we're in the pre-show now. Okay, so there's a pre-show, there's a show, and there's a post-show. So at this point in the pre-show, I need you to answer a question, if you'd be so willing. And that question is, how do we know each other?
So we know each other. You and I have been friends. I would say that you and I have been like actual friends for probably the better part of a decade at this point. So we're both in our early 30s now. We knew each other growing up, connected through my cousin, your friends, Michael and David, and you kind of grew up with them, and I was around. And then I think as we got into adulthood, we just naturally ended up spending more time around together. So I know you through like my cousins and kind of the pod of people around them.
Little orca pod.
What's that?
Little orca pod.
A little orca pod. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun way to think of it. Yeah. So that's through that. And then we ran in some like similar circles for a while. You worked at a camp. I worked at a camp. We audited some classes, some Bible classes together for a time. So that was all very fun. And then hanging around in Bayview and Wisconsin and around. So, so a good friend for a decade, and then an acquaintance.
Less friend for a longer time.
Yes.
So I've texted you that I've met some strange people on the internet in the last little while. And I've told you that they're kind of known as the TLC. They're this little corner of the internet. You've watched some stuff that occurs around or within the TLC.
Yeah.
I was curious, have you bought your ticket for Midwestuary yet?
No, haven't bought it yet. But
are you coming?
100% planning on coming.
Are we going to get a hotel room together?
We're getting a hotel room together.
Okay.
You and
I look greatly forward to attending Midwestuary with you. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah, super excited. Super excited to get in. Yeah, just experience, with things like this too. I have enough of an idea of what Midwestuary is, where I know that there's going to be good things going on. But try not to set too many like expectations in my mind, like try to pre-work out what's going to happen and why it's going to be good. So I'm excited to get there and see how it goes, and like see what these conversations are like, see what these relationships are like, see how the Lord moves and what he highlights. And I think it's going to be a pretty exciting time.
The fellowship of the Spirit.
Yes.
Okay,
let's see how many of these puns we can work in through the show. I like this. It's good.
We got 4 rules here for the game show. Rule 1, only submit to the question. Don't submit to me. Push back against anything you want to push back or feel like you need to push back against. Only submit to the question. You are going to have to determine the meaning. These questions have been collected from the TLC, but also like beyond the TLC, just strange corners of the internet. There's things that are here that, well, they're more than questions, less than questions. So I'm responsible. Hold me responsible for all of this, but you are going to have to determine the meaning. And the host, when the host arrives, the host might have some follow-up questions for you. Those aren't mandatory. So if it's a follow-up question, only submit to the question.
Okay. Question is supreme. Host is a pirate's code. Got it. Okay.
Rule number 2, adopt the role of the stranger. From here on out, you and I are estranged. We don't know you. I don't even know who we is. I don't know. I mean, there could not even be a we. This could get 0 views. And so the we is me, myself, and I. And that's great. That's really great. So You are the stranger.
Okay.
And you even have like a little nameplate. So you kind of already pre-adopted that.
I've picked it up. I'm owning it. Okay. Submit to the questions. I'm the stranger.
Rule 3, share your frames. How do you see the world? What are things that are maybe central to your identity? A lot of people, it's a political party. It's a religious practice. Some people, it's like a philosophical school. For some folks, it's like, I read this book in high school. I just kept rereading it. And then I read every book by that author. And that author, like, I can't talk without stealing some of that author's language.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn this over to you now, and then you get to share your frames.
Okay. So my frames are predominantly Protestant Christian background, coming from a homeschool education also, which brought a more I was still connected with a lot of people. Actually, my dad would joke that I had more friends as a homeschooler than he did as a public schooler. And my dad was like involved in a lot of stuff too, but between different church groups that I was involved with, which would have been like the church that my family was involved with, and then you meet friends through different groups, and they've got their own church groups and their own pods. So, finding a lot of community in a predominantly Protestant denominationally church background, that'll frame a lot of stuff. And even the curriculum that we used as I was growing up comes from a Christian group. So I would joke if I ever tell my salvation story, with people, that I would learn about Jesus in math class, which is half a joke, but half actually also true, because there'd be Bible verses on in the workbooks and stuff. So it's just like saturated in that. So very heavy.
Do you remember any of the Bible verses that were in the math textbook?
Oh, I remember.
Was there a math equation that was like how many fish and how many loaves?
There was that illustration specifically, I remember. So I don't think that I had to work it out, but that is exactly the one that I remember. Because Jesus, he multiplied the fish in the loaves. And I don't know that Jesus was really following any mathematical practice. I think he was, he was stepping through our systems. He was stepping through our box to make something happen, to reveal that he's God over all of that stuff. So whether that was actual math or not, it was still there. So that's a big framework for me, Christianity. In recent years, I have been expanding that horizon more. I've gleaned a lot of goodness from the Catholic Church. I've listened to podcasts not just like a couple people in a room talking about them, but more like a radio show, I suppose, of like stories of saints. I've been fascinated with saints and the ways that the Lord has moved in the lives of people all through history and since Bible times. So, Protestant background, very familiar with the Bible and the texts in Scripture, not as familiar with, well, what's happened like since then. So, it has been refreshing and encouraging and mind blowing to see how the Lord's moved through that. So, and then I have some Orthodox Christianity influence in there also. So I listen to the Symbolic World podcast. I've been slowly working through Matthew Peugeot's book as well. So brother of Jonathan Peugeot, host of Symbolic World. I got to attend an event at an Orthodox church in Pennsylvania a number of years ago for a Tolkien conference, and that was my first experience in a Greek Orthodox just building and service, and anyway, very cool, and getting to see, wow, okay, the Lord, like, he's here and he's also here and he's here too. So seeing the faithfulness and the presence of the Lord and all that's been good. But yeah, so Christianity with a heavy dose of Protestantism is going to be a big context or big framework for me. I could wrap off a bunch of people who are influences to me. So I'll try to save that, but to plug one
Wrap them off. You already mentioned
okay.
Tolkien. Tolkien a frame?
Tolkien's a frame. Lewis is a frame. I've read probably a wider breadth of stuff from Lewis than Tolkien, but I do really like The Lord of the Rings. So I've gone through that a lot, and I think their perspectives on the world and how their relationship with God shaped the things that they wrote and the way that they saw the world is very attractive to me and very cool. A couple of years ago, I read an essay that Tolkien had wrote called On Fairy Stories, and he makes an argument. Well, he says a lot of things in there, but it's basically an argument for the importance of fairy stories or fantasy and how truths of the world are revealed through storytelling and through fantasy in ways that only fantasy can.
Midwestuary 2025, August 22nd through the 24th in Elmhurst, Illinois. A weekend you won't want to miss with special guests Cale Zeldin, Paul Vanderklay, Rod Dreer, Elizabeth Oldfield, John Vervaeke, and Jonathan Peugeot. Midwestuary 2025, the Fellowship of the Spirit. Stay tuned for more details. Visit us at midwestuary.com for ongoing updates. Play.
All right. That.
And we're back from commercial break. So sorry about that, Darren. Things, I don't have control of the commercials. They just kind of appear.
Sometimes they just come out of nowhere. That's some like strong advertising technique, actually.
The
You should
brand
use
is
it.
rich around here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm about that. That's good. Do you want me to pick up where we just were?
Yeah, you had read on fairy stories,
Stories.
an essay from Tolkien.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I've always been drawn to stories. I think I appreciate the art of storytelling more than like that's the medium. That's like my muses, if you will. They dance around with stories. And they like stories resonate with me. And I have experienced how I relate things, trials and joys of life to where I've seen things like that happen in stories or movies or books that I've read. And I've been able to make sense of the things like the character and the nature and the personality of God through books and through, things like that. That could be an analogy. So Tolkien makes the case for fairy stories, for fantasy, and how they're important for everybody. And he writes about in there how they're, in his time, he's seen how they are relegated to the nursery. They're relegated to like, it's just for kids to play around with fantasy because there's no room for that in the serious adult world where real things happen. But he makes the case that it's a grave loss to the man or woman who does not have room for fantasy, for fairy stories and the magic and the life that they bring. So they are, Tolkien and Lewis both, going to be big framework people for me.
You and your brother and your friend Bill have been podcasting and telling stories about Bigfoot and Nephilim and video games and Miyazaki and the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And did this count as a frame? The fact that you are now like entering the world as a storyteller?
Yeah, that has had an impact as well. So a framework there is there's a lot of stuff in the world, be it verifiable history and events or less verifiable history and events, but potentially still out there. And knowing that we're spiritual beings in a spiritual space, and we might call it physical, but being physical makes it no less spiritual. And discerning where the presence of God is in all of that stuff and being able to identify some things like anomalies, I don't know, seeing that stuff through that framework that, well, everything is spiritual to some sense, has been cool. So yeah, with our podcast, the Bad Takes podcast, we've talked about what you've just mentioned there. We talk about history. We talk about some conspiracy stuff. The three of us that hosted, my brother Andrew and then our friend Bill. Yeah, that's a good point. We kind of each have our own framework. I'd say Bill is, he's a Gen Xer, and he has grown up in a world saturated with media and has gotten to the spot to see, like, I think a lot of what I hear in the media is they're lying to me, and I've been lied to about all this stuff. And we're in a spot where we can do some of our own like research, and we can we're not boxed into the, I guess, big four like news outlets anymore. There's more voices. We're in a spot where people with social media can share, so for better or for worse. But I think he's been excited to like reveal or talk about what he's seen the world to be like, and how things really are, or at least a different perspective on our culture and some politics there and all that. And then my brother's been kind of fascinated too with some, those urban legend things, or those question mark events, like people who say that they've, what's that?
Say the
Sorry?
word, cryptids.
Cryptids.
Your brother's
Yes.
fascinated with cryptids.
Cryptids, Mothman, the Beast of Bray Road out of Wisconsin, Sasquatch, you name it. So, yeah, looking at that stuff and using that as an angle to try to point people to, I like to say, like, look for the fingerprints of God. How can we dust the fingerprints of God off of whatever we are looking at? Because they're going to be there somewhere. So if we can offer that perspective of the world, that's a big framework, definitely. And then I guess I'll cap off. Yeah, so stories, there's a lot of influences there. You mentioned Miyazaki too. I'm sure I've name dropped him on our podcast at least a handful of times. But yeah, some of these artists who tell really good stories and add a bit of whimsy and magic into life, whether that's through the music in their media or the stories themselves, or just the things that they do to help activate our imaginations are very powerful. There's a lot of musicians in there too. I would say the one that I'll definitely name drop is John Mark McMillan. I feel like I am constantly referring to songs of his, or I'm just texting people links to their songs. I've done that to you when you were driving to Alaska. I think I caught your voicemail and was like, hey, by the way, listen to this. All right, bye. But I just think it's so rich. I think he's a poet, as you are, by nature, and that just bleeds into his lyrics, which are really raw and honest, but beautiful and poignant and profound. So I just feel enriched, and a bit like he's a kindred spirit, where some of the things that he'll talk about or that he'll sing about are like, that's like me. That's what I'm saying. So it's cool to be able to point to people like that you really resonate with.
Are there any other frames you'd like to share?
So I've shared Protestant Christian background, storytelling, Lewis Tolkien, John Mark McMillan. I think that's decent. Oh, Midwest. I guess that's a thing. So Midwest America. I am as viewers might have gleaned through some of this banter already, I will compare myself a bit to lo-fi music as a person. Like, I like things to be slow, and I like a slow pace, and I like to take time with people and with things. I don't find a lot of value just in the, like, look at all the things that I did today, like the number of things, or if I've got a day with a lot of things happening, that might feel more stressful than exhilarating. So I like to take time. I like to be slow. So that aspect of who I am probably adds a bit of framework to how I like to see the world and how my ideal world would be.
Well, good on you for doubling down on slow and not running away from it.
I couldn't if I tried.
Okay. Rule 4. Accept that for now, I am just the host.
Okay. See you later, friend Ethan. Whoa,
Right,
who's this guy?
The jacket has been donned. What else we got on here? Oh, Ethan Marshall Cahy recedes. The host comes forward. As the host, I collect questions. I found them from all over.
Ooh, is that some hand? Ooh. All right. Looking good. Is that Modern Mammals? Is that just olive oil?
You are the picker. I am the plucker. Together we tucker out.
Here, here.
So we begin with question 0.
Question
This is
zero.
the first question Christian Baxter asked me during my rando. We're going to get Christian Baxter linked up down in the description. He's got a podcast called Yours Truly. He actually just
cool.
had a conversation with a guy that writes for Symbolic World, which you mentioned. Really cool, wild story. The guy like traveled all across South America, had some wild, truly some wild adventures, and then along the way became a writer and now writes for Symbolic World and has a book being published about the symbolism of the book of Exodus and the movie Arrival. And it's like hand bound by some cool artists. So yeah,
take my money right now. Christian, I will send you my payment information. Tell me what you need.
No. Christian has a podcast where this guy appeared.
Oh, okay. Christian, take my money and you give him the money and then I get the book. If it works out that way, that's fair to me.
The first question is,
yes.
Tell us about the home you grew up in.
The home that I grew up in. All right. So we'll start at the very beginning. So I'm the oldest child of 4 siblings. I spent the first couple of years of my life living in an apartment complex with my parents, and my mom's parents lived in the same building. They were the room, like the floor right below us. So the first couple years of my life, the memories that I have from that time are pretty awesome. I had another like little kid friend named Casey around my age, and we would whatever hang out. But I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, so I essentially like lived with them for the first few years of my life, and then as more siblings came into the picture, and my mom and dad kind of were progressing through the whatever you call it, life, the American dream of life, and we're able to get a home. We moved to a town called East Troy, Wisconsin. I mentioned earlier I was homeschooled, so I spent a lot of time in that home in East Troy. So the home that I grew up in was like warm. We are still as a family unit. We're all of us kids are adults now. So I myself is oldest. I'm 31 years old, and the youngest is 20. Hang on. She's got a birthday in a couple of weeks. Hang on. I can do this. She's at least 22.
Breads by the loaves, and you always get the right number.
Yes. So she is 20. She will be 23 in a month. So we're all adults now, but we are still close. We see most of us will see each other within the span of a week. It's typically not much more than that, where we won't before we bump into each other again. My mom, as a homeschooling mom, she really saturated us with the Spirit of God. So that's not just the curriculum's doing, she was the one teaching that for the early years of my education. And she made a family prayer time a really big deal. We grew up, celebrating actually a lot of the Jewish feasts from a messianic, like Christian perspective. So for instance, we always celebrate Passover. So a couple of weeks ago, just around Easter, we had our Seder, like Passover celebration, and we'd celebrate Yom Kippur, and we'd celebrate Rosh Hashanah. So those have also been a part of my growing up experience. And one of the things that I will that's been imprinted on my being from all that saturation and the prayer times we would do. My mom would go through a list of like prayer requests that she would get from her friends or that she knew was happening in the world and the communities around us, and she'd ask us all the time what we could add to like all pray together for as a family. And we'd pray together around lunch time every day, and she would end each prayer by praying over us that we would say, yeah, so it's a verse from Paul, and it's basically the like, whatever is true, whatever is kind, whatever is pure, whatever is holy, like only do these things, only speak these things. So like whatever it is that we say, like let us not speak if it's not necessary. Let us not let us just have have that attitude that if we're doing anything, may it be for may we consider that it's the right thing. And that we're not just shooting by the hip. So that's been a big part of it. With that, I've gained, since I guess I didn't have a similar experience to a lot of American people, where a lot of my friend groups might just come from, well, we like went to school together and we played sports together that way.
Yeah.
I've gained an eclectic like friend group through through church and through like camps, like Christian camps that I went to. And this friend has a friend group over here and whatever. So I call myself a bit of an island hopper relationally. Like I've been super blessed to, I think, I have a lot of really cool friendships and relationships with a lot of people in similar in age to me, younger than me, older than me. And that's been a cool part of my story. So, but they're all like on different islands. So, sometimes it's funny when I try to like get people together. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I know you really well and you really well and you really well. But like if we all get together, you don't know like anything about each other. But I feel like we're close, but you don't know.
Does that go well or does it go awkwardly?
Usually it goes well. I can't recall anything that's ever been super awkward. I do remember that 2 years ago for my 30th birthday, I wanted to do something like special for that. My family heritage is German, so I guess I've been championing that a little bit in the last couple years of my life, like going to German fests and checking out German restaurants. So I wanted to get to some friends together to go to a German restaurant, and that was where that really happened. We're like, hey, there's these friends from church and these friends that I grew up with and these friends from my friend groups now and my friends from work and my friends from the camp I used to work at and the friends from like over here. So a lot of the people that I'm like, I'm really close to them, I want them to be a part of this. I was realizing when I was sending this message out, like there's like these different pizza slices of people that like they might know like a person or two, but wouldn't have touched these other people around. So I suppose that's kind of cool. And my framework too in the home that I'm raised in, along with that kind of prayer mantra I brought up, I guess I've understood like my role in life is to be a helper, to be like a friend, to be like a pastor in a sense. Like that's a gift of the Spirit. So even if it's not vocationally what I am, like to be present with people and to do what you can to be involved and pray and to help and to care and to do more than just like say nice things, but to also like, I don't know, get involved and really care. So hopefully do okay at that. But I think the fruit of that is like, yeah, I have these like lasting friendships from all these different pools that I've swam in that carry on to this day. So And my mom was always, our house was always open to neighbors, to whoever we might come in contact with. Like, you could always have a meal, you could always come and talk, you could always just come and, spend some time away. And I think that's the kind of lifestyle I strive to live. So I gleaned that from my upbringing, certainly.
Well, Darren, hopefully you are feeling present now as the stranger, because now the show begins and you will be picking a question from this board over here.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Kinds of strange things. We got a number of cards here, so I'll raise this high, and maybe you can give me some kind of direction, and I'll get involved there, and we'll find a card for you.
Okay.
I should tell you, there are some cards that if I were you, I wouldn't want to draw, but that is just the way it works.
Great. Okay. I saw the number 39 in there. It's, I think, upside down from that last view. Oh, that 33 one looks kind of cool. But yeah, I think I saw 39, so maybe we'll go for that.
I plucked it. Okay, so from Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson lives in a different country.
Whoa, cool.
This question was collected in a chat room where he said he had no question, but then he asked me a question. Question. LOL, love you, stranger, but maybe you have too much faith in me?
Faith in Mark? I did. I actually really did for a second there. I was like, I had a lot of faith that question was going to be huge, but I still love you too, Mark.
Do you think Mark was directing the love your way?
I have to submit to the questions and assume that they are for me. So yes, that was for me. So my response from very limited context to Mark is that I love you too.
Have you ever been to Tbilisi?
No.
Do you know where Tbilisi is?
No.
Do you know what Tbilisi is?
Is Tbilisi as to bliss, as to blave is to love? Like the Princess Bride? Which is a long way of me saying no. Well, thanks, Mark. Okay, I saw one before that was a 33, and the 33 was written really cool. Where like there's like that's the one.
There are blank. There's quite a few blank ones. The ones that have drawings on them are older questions, and the blank ones are newer questions. There's a system being built, but it just takes a while to build things. So
yeah, things got to evolve, man.
This is a good one.
Okay.
From Claire Caw, who I think might operate multiple social media accounts, which might occasionally change names.
Okay.
Although I'm not certain. On YouTube, last time I checked, you can find Claire Caw at Official Secular Quranism, and on X, you can find Claire Caw at Cyborg of Secular Quranism.
Okay.
The question is, what legal, peaceful, and easy thing would you ask your fellow citizens to do to improve their government if they were prepared to do as you ask? And there's no rush here. We love dead air.
That's good, because that is a deep question.
Would you like a repeat?
I'll try to regurgitate the question, and you can let me know if I've got it. So,
please, baby bird question.
What peaceful legal thing would I essentially implement? Like if I could get other citizens around it as well, what would I make happen to improve our government?
Yeah, I think that's really close. Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly the question. You forgot a few words there, but it's really close.
Okay, passable to the understanding the heart of the question.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know if Claire Call would agree. I think so. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, but I got to submit to the question, and I gotta kind of interpret it how I understand it. Okay. You know, you and I have talked about this, with you being the driver. Sorry, my friend Ethan, who isn't here at the moment, but I have this great friend Ethan, who's in Alaska, Mr. Host. So this friend Ethan has talked about how we have lost in our modern world, like a forum space, like a city square, like town square. We've gone away from that. We live in like our boxes. So I think what I would love to get people behind as citizens on a big level, but on a small level too, would be there should just be more like I guess essentially like libraries, but like bookshops, like coffee shops, little bakeries, like little places where people could get their necessities. Like I growing up in the area of Wisconsin that I've grown up in, you know, you get everything you need from Walmart or from like Amazon or from like a big box store. It's maybe not that far away, but you kind of commute away, and it's easy to go about that without having any interaction with anybody else ever. You can just dodge it and get what you need and get back, or just order it online. But if each like little town, maybe even like subdivision like area, didn't have to had an option outside of Amazon or the big box store, but like every little town had like, here's your little general store that used to be a bigger deal in times past, where you could get your medicine, you could get your food, you could also just stop in, have a meal, maybe pick up a book, like have these little community centers where people would run into each other a little bit more often, and maybe get what they need while staying in their communities a little bit more tightly, would create a grander, more real sense of the community that actually is around us, but we miss oftentimes. So yeah, probably just investing in little corner shops like that had a lot of little options, had space for people to just hang out and be around each other. I think that would be a big benefit for the society's mental health and our ability to engage with one another, which I think is a very important thing. So maybe that's what I'd love you for.
You know, it sounds like your friend Ethan has been stealing ideas from Ross Bird and Jordan Hall and shopping them around. Also, what I heard you say is your answer to the question was invest in little corners.
Yeah, invest in little corners.
Okay, cool. Next question.
Thank you, Claire, for your question. Okay. I see there is a glass on the table, or maybe that is a jar, or maybe it is plastic. Yes, right there. There are 4 right around it. Your hand is over. Yeah, let's do that one. Your hand's over it right now.
Okay. Yeah. This is from Michigan Man Sam, coming from Discord. Check out his YouTube, From Whom All Blessings Flow.
That's a great
Question.
name.
If you could either eat anything you want without physical consequences, or be the world's fastest mid-distance runner without practicing, what would you choose?
Whoa. So I love the Olympics. I like sports a lot. The Olympics are very fun. That's another actually home I grew up in thing. We always made a big deal about the Olympics, and my mom would make a feast based on the cuisine or the assumed cuisine of whatever country was hosting the Olympics. So
We got Italy tonight. It's gonna be SpaghettiOs.
it's gonna be SpaghettiOs and Jack's Pizza, which would be a great meal for me. Actually, that'd be awesome. So given that, I didn't have to practice. I didn't have to work for it, really. I didn't have to like put in the grind that other people have had to be the world's fastest mid-distance runner. That's very appealing, just to be able to get onto an Olympic stage like that. But if I didn't actually have to try, I wouldn't have that inspiring Olympic story, and I would just be crushing the dreams of people who really did try and actually put in effort. And I wouldn't like that. I'd feel bad about it. And I like to eat food, so I'm going to eat whatever I want without consequence.
I am curious why you don't feel bad for all the people who would be really jealous when they watched you eat food and didn't have consequences, even though they had consequences. Because it seems like if you applied your logic evenly, both of these routes would cause people to just be jealous with rage.
Yeah,
Rage,
yeah,
jealousy,
sure.
rage.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest back with you, host. So I saw that purely out of a selfish thing that I've been noticing in my own self entering my 30s now, where you can kind of get a little like I'm a lean guy, which is a blessing. I've had the blessing of like, yeah, pretty much
Distance runner.
yeah. But I've had the blessing of like I can eat pretty much whatever I want without consequence for most of my life. But I've began to experience, hey, Darren, buddy, yeah, maybe this isn't smart. Maybe you shouldn't eat this. So if I could just reverse that and I could go back to like, yeah, I can have the spiciest wings at 11 p.m. and still sleep through the night and be okay for the next day, I'm going to do that. Because I'll tell you what, I can't do that anymore otherwise. So,
I mean, is there any greater gift upon entering your 30s to just receive a little pouch where you can store things? Like, what could be better?
a little pouch, like yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that I want to eat those spicy wings again without my body hating me for it. So, good question. Thank you for that, Sam. That looks like a Polaroid photo. That's pretty cool. Is that a question or is that just a Polaroid photo? So just Polaroid photo. Okay, great. So let's go to the edge of the table. Yeah, let's see. Is that really big one towards the center beam? That's a question. The one you just had your hand on before it. Yeah.
All right, let's see what we plucked. Oh, interesting. This one's from the outer reaches of the internet. From pppoopoo1234 at delta_with. From an X thread where I maybe foolishly tried to collect a question from Elon Musk. So
okay.
The question from pppoopoo1234 at delta_with is, yes. You ever play Is It Chocolate or Shit?
No. No. I don't play that.
Would you like to?
No. I've been bean boozled enough to my own detriment that I don't even want to get into that game.
I don't know what bean boozling is, but I'm not going to ask.
All right, fair enough.
Next question.
Okay, let's stay at this end of the table here. Let's do this one that is horizontal, farthest to the left. Yeah, right there.
Oh, this is good. This is good. This is good. From Skank, aka Skonkenstein. It's Skonkenstein.
It's
The question is,
pronounced Skonkenstein. Okay.
oh, we got a story over here. We knows his references, folks.
You better believe it.
The question is, what work of art are you most excited to share with someone else? And why do you think it's worth sharing? It can be as lowbrow or as highbrow as you like. Mona Lisa or Marvel, Mozart or Super Mario, everything is up for grabs.
Wow. That's a great question. Most excited about.
To share with someone else.
Yes. I am going to interpret that because I love sharing things, especially things like this, like art that can be a thing people do together. Like, let's watch this movie together. Let's go see this concert together. So, that's a good question. Because there is some good art out there still. The world is a weird place, and sometimes
Culture
your
ain't-
outlook on life. What? Sorry?
Culture ain't dead yet.
Culture ain't dead yet, baby. It ain't dead yet. So, I believe, even though you'll laugh at me, because you know how far behind I still am, friend Ethan, is One Piece. You know it, baby. You know it. I have known about One Piece for a long time. Straw Hat Pirates, baby. Look at that beautiful hat. I've known about One Piece for a long time. I got into anime when I was in high school. A really good friend of mine named Dan, at the camp that I grew up going to and then working at, he liked anime, and so that was a thing that brought us together. He invited me in to watch some, stories that he really loved with him. And so One Piece was something I've known about for a long time, but even that long ago, I looked at it and was like, that is so long. I don't think I want to take that on. I could consume so many other things.
How long is it?
To date, it's over 1,100 episodes long, and it's still running. It's in the home stretch, but it's still running. So I didn't watch it for quite some time. I had the opportunity after I graduated high school. I did a mission school with an organization called Youth with a Mission, which essentially is a 3-month like Bible school program, and then a 3-month like elongated mission trip. And my mission trip portion was to Japan. And while I was there, one of the missionaries that we worked with there highlighted how popular One Piece is to the common Japanese person. So when we Americans or foreigners might think of Japan, we might just think anime stuff automatically. And obviously not everybody in Japan cares about anime. That's not the life for but of all of the media that's out there, One Piece is a story that most people actually keep up with and care about. I witnessed I would imagine he was middle-aged, like 40, 50, 60-year-old, whatever. Japanese businessman, like full suit, full Japanese in subway in Tokyo, reading One Piece manga and crying, like in public, visibly crying. So it's powerful enough that it's spurring that to happen. And this missionary highlighted how the story of One Piece with Luffy, who's the captain of this group of pirates that comes together, he's like telling the story. He's inviting them into what Jesus invites us into in real life, where Luffy's got a mission. He's going to be king of the pirates, and he'll, especially towards the front end of the story, meet people and just like tell them that they're going to be a part of his crew and they're going to play a role on his crew, which might not be anything that they desire to do. And they might be like, "You're crazy. I don't want to do that at all." And each of these characters has their own dream and desire and their own struggle that they have not been able to overcome on their own. And when Luffy comes along and invites them to join the crew, they have to sacrifice their own dream essentially to take on something else they didn't really want, or they don't think that they want. But when they do that, Luffy is there to, like, they find actual like fulfillment in being a part of this team and part of this family. The word, this is something that I haven't fact checked in a while, so I'm saying it, and people in the comments can blow me up if this is not 100% correct. But I've understood it that the word in Japanese for crew, like you would use for like a pirate crew, has a more close association to the word family in Japanese. So when you become a part of the crew, you become a part of this like chosen, like the family that you chose to be a part of. And the bond is tight. So they find this fulfillment in being a part of this family together. And as they adopt like Luffy's mission, they also find that they're able to succeed in their own dreams and their own identity that they know they have because they're a part of the crew that they wouldn't have been able to do if they just kept going out on their own. And One Piece, just as a show, is super fun and goofy and is anime in the best way. And I think the correlation between how Jesus is chasing after us and how he like activates us and fulfills us and calls us into unity together, I think that's exemplified so well in the show. It's been a joy to actually watch through it now, having been to Japan and seeing like the impact that it has on people.
Wow.
So, but like I said before, I'm slow. So I'm still working through it. I still care about it a lot. I just haven't made it to the end.
What episode are you on?
I'm close to 600. So I'm on Fishman Island. We've been hanging out with.
You're halfway.
I'm halfway.
Yeah. Well, you're over halfway currently.
Yes, technically, currently, just slightly over halfway still. But I'll take it in draw. So artists will say this, and maybe I have this same attitude with consuming media, but perhaps my friend Ethan, I don't know if host Ethan is the same way, but my friend Ethan is a writer. There might be times where like, oh, right now I need to write something. Like it's the spirit is on me. I need to write now because I'm like activated now. And sometimes you might schedule to write, but like, oh, I'm not activated. Like it's just not here at the moment. I'm not at full speed. So as a lover of stories, which I know a lot of people are, I feel like with a show that I like, I've been enjoying so much as One Piece, I like want to be in the zone when I'm watching it. I don't want to just watch it to watch it. I want to be like, yep, my spirit is ready to receive the show. So I go in stride with it. And then when I'm not about it, I'll wait until it comes back around, and then I'll slog out a couple more episodes and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely felt that way in the question collection business. There are times when I just am overcome with the need to collect a question.
Yeah, so sometimes you're in it, sometimes you're not. So I like to I like to consume the stories when I'm in it. I'll do the same thing with movies that I love. So another Japanese one, an obscure one, but it's called Wolf Children is on this list for sure. Coco from Pixar is on this list for sure, as well as like Up. These are all movies that are pretty emotional, but beautiful movies. And I have seen each of these only a handful of times, and I love them, and I will go back to them throughout my life. But I can't watch them too often. It's like I got to be in the, I don't know, in the zone when I feel like it's gonna mean something. Go
I mean,
back.
you can't cry every day, right? There has to be some days you don't cry.
There's got to be a few in there, man.
Well, let us go back to the board then and see
All
what
right.
kind of we can collect.
Okay, let's do it. Let's stay on this end of the table. I like that last question. So let's go with the next one in to the right. Yeah, let's do it.
You know, you've had it kind of easy so far. I mean, these have been pretty lighthearted.
I'm all about that, but we'll see if the wind changes.
Oh. I think I took these notes in 2018.
Oh wow.
Do you want the side that I'm looking at or the other side?
Let's do the side you're looking at.
Thank you. Next question.
All right. We'll stay on this side of the table. We'll go to that next one. That's kind of sitting crooked on the side there. Yeah.
Oh, there's a theme here. Sometimes this theme thing, it's just like it's a theme that begins to emerge.
That's awesome.
Okay. From drum roll, please. This is genuinely one of the most important voices on art and philosophy existing today outside of the academy and very inside this meta-modern digital world. This question comes from Thomas Flight. I went on a long road trip across America and watched his entire YouTube body of work.
Whoa.
There is not a bad video. There are better videos though on Thomas Flight's channel. Thomas Flight is one of my favorite people that exists on the internet, and somehow I managed to collect a question.
I'm honored to hear this question. Thank you, Thomas, for submitting the question to our wonderful host. That's awesome.
The question is, what's a piece of art or media that you changed your mind about?
Oh.
Why?
That's an interesting question.
Right?
Okay, this will be some dead air for a second. I gotta go through the library in my mind here.
We like dead air.
I find this will happen with like music often enough, because there's enough like social pressure sometimes with popular music or music that other people like, where like, oh, I might not be drawn to something, but everybody likes it, or this person. So, and you just listen to it more because, it's like the thing to do. You want to be in the club, So I've had that experience with some bands that I've given like more chance to, and then have found I like them over time more. This might be a little ironic because I think it's the point the story's trying to make, but then okay, I'll explain myself as I go. I think the piece of media that I have changed my mind about, that I could give a good example of, is the Hunger Games series. I've read those books actually when they were coming out, so I had already read the first two before the movie had come out. And I think that the third book came out kind of at about the same time as the movie. And they're exciting books, and they're well-made movies, popular, and I liked them. I was along for the ride with them. But upon watching them again, I had this crisis. I'm going to call it a crisis. I'll be extreme. I had a crisis of this whole the tragedy and the horror of this story is that this world is pitting these kids into this arena where they have to fight to the death. They're killing each other just for the sake of entertainment. Like, it's the Roman Colosseum all over again. And I think the point of it, maybe that story works better as a book, where you, the one hearing the story, you can maybe side with the author to agree that, yeah, that's terrible, that's awful, that would happen, and that there'd be a world like that would enjoy something like that and be able to be disattached from the lives that are in this arena. And I treat it like just like a tournament, and I make bets on who's going to live and who's going to die. But then I was watching the movies, I had this epiphany, like, I paid money to go spend 2 hours in a movie theater to watch a film about children in this arena where they're killing each other to the death, for my own entertainment. Like, I'm participating in the very thing that the story like warned me against. So that whole franchise, then, I was like, it's profiting on the idea that it's, I think, trying to fight against. But that's how, it's successful. People are paying to go consume this story. And I know that there's a lot of elements. There's a lot of, like, the man, the people against the man, people rising up against powers that be, and corruption in the world. And, it paints the tournament in a light that, like, yep, this is a bad thing. But by proxy, you're still, like, watching it happen. So that is an example of a story that I've changed my mind about, because I don't like plan to watch that again. I feel a bit sick about it. Like, I can't enjoy this the way I maybe once did.
That is a fantastic response. What's interesting as I listen to what you're saying is there is something like inherently different in an individual experience of reading a novel versus like the crowd experience of watching a film.
Yeah, that alone is a factor in how we consume stories, but that story specifically, I think, works because it's a book. Because it just exists in this space. Like, imagine, if you will, a world with me where this happens and this terrible event takes place, and this character you're following, like, volunteers to step into the tournament to save somebody that they love. But now that probably means that they're going to die, and they're in this, super dire situation. I think you consume that story differently by reading it than actually watching those things play out live. because the movie is still as fake, I guess, as the book, but there's just something different about like the way I'm consuming this story. I am like a citizen in this world where I am spending my time like watching this tournament to the death because I am bored, or like for my own enjoyment, consuming the story like that is just different.
I'm trying to think of an example of, I suppose it just doesn't really happen this way, of someone who writes a novel and then goes on to be heavily involved in the filming of said novel, where the film appears differently from the novel because it's a film. Like I think about The Shining, but obviously Stephen King was not really a fan of the film, even though the book and the film are separate and both are brilliant in their own way. It almost becomes like that example is more like one idea that two different people represented. I can't think of any single idea where one person represented it well on the page and then went on to represent it well as a part of a team that built a film.
Yeah, I know J.K. Rowling was involved with the movie making process for Harry Potter. Like I know that she influenced like the casting, so I know that she was a big proponent to like all of the cast members should be English, like the story takes place in England, so they should be, proper English. I know that she began writing as she kept going on with the series, the character of Snape, knowing that Alan Rickman is Snape. So like his influence as an artist, just Alan Rickman, bled into then the very character of Severus Snape. So I know
made before she finished writing all the novels.
Yeah. So they had, I couldn't tell you from memory like how many books were out before the first movie was out, but there was a period where she was continuing to finish the book series while the movies had begun production.
Interesting. Well, speaking of production, we're going to roll to a commercial break.
Hello, everybody. This is Noah with another unscripted commentary video, and we have another question from the audience. This time we have one from the one and only Luke Thompson, and he asks, when and how should wise parents introduce modern technology, internet, screens, phones, social media into their children's lives? Why? Before I kind of step into the parent question, I feel like we probably should take a step back and kind of talk about what should our relationship with technology be in the first place. One thing, I've been trying to find a way to say it, and it's not a very good way to say it, but I think it functions. Technology should be a tool, and that should be your relationship with it. You should be able to use technology to do what you need to do with it, right? But it should not make you into a tool, right? That's not the proper relationship. I think that's kind of the way that most of us who find ourselves captured by the internet specifically function. We feel like we're being controlled to a certain extent. We can't stop scrolling the internet, can't step away, need to look at the numbers or get likes or see what our friends are doing. We have been captured, and the relationship is not us in control of the technology, with the technology in control of us. And so in my understanding is that the proper way, the proper relationship would be something a little bit closer to being able to control technology, to say, you know what, social media isn't bad. How do I use social media for the best it has to offer, and not kind of become a slave to social media? Same thing with the internet, same thing with your phone. And so yeah, that's the first step. And so once we kind of have that down, there's like a good understanding of what a proper relationship is. Then you can begin to ask the question, how do I echo this, introduce this, bring this wisdom into the lives of people around me, specifically people I'm watching over or looking towards. And so sometimes that actually means ourselves. And so how do we introduce restrictions to properly teach what a good relationship is with technology? And so it's somewhat meaning like slowly, right? That's part of it. I can't give a specific date, right? I don't think that it's fair to be like, 12 years old, that's when you should have your kid be allowed to be on YouTube for X amount of time, and then every year they get more or something like that. That doesn't seem quite right, because every child is different. So there's a certain level of like, does your child show mastery over the time that they already are given? Are they able to show that they have a responsibility over what they already have? Do they already find themselves captured? Well, maybe it's not a good idea to introduce themselves to more temptations. Or, things that would have a negative impact in that sense. And so it's a constant conversation. And again, even with yourself, because I know a lot of people who watch this channel don't have kids. I don't think they do, at least. Like before you introduce another layer of temptation into your life, you get a new video game, or if you don't already have a phone, getting a phone, right? Like all these sorts of things. Can I handle it? Like, do I, like, honestly look at yourself and say, can I handle more responsibility? Can I handle getting a new social media? Relatively recently, right, within the last year, I got a Twitter account, and for a while there, I was starting to get captured by Twitter, right? I started doing that, and then I quickly saw that it was having a horrible effect on me, and I was like, oh, this is disgusting. And so I had to renegotiate that relationship. I had to be like, hey, I'm not having an app for this, especially, like, I'm not going to have easy access to this. If I'm going to have it at all, it's going to be through the browser on my PC. And even then, like, I'm only going to open it to check on notifications or post something once in a while, and then I'm going to leave it alone. And these are the things to consider, right? When you are kind of doing that for another person, how do you introduce those things slowly in a way that it's reasonable, and you're not, getting into fights all the time, but then also trying to show them that, like, hey, these are very powerful tools, like things that can be used for great good and great evil. How can we, exercise a sense of responsibility, but then also virtue is the other word, I guess, that you could say. And how can we, be the best that we can possibly be? So that's mostly my thoughts around it. This is something I'm, constantly kind of struggling with, trying to renegotiate. I'm probably too far in certain parts, and so I'm still working on it, right? I'm still deleting and re-downloading apps on my phone, and probably going to delete a few more after this video to feel like I'm at least somewhat intellectually consistent. But that's mostly what I had to add to this conversation. I hope it's helpful, Luke. For everyone else, thank you all for sticking by and watching. If you have a question, please add it to the form in the description. I'm running out of questions, so any questions would be helpful. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start poking people specifically for questions. So I'd love to see them, and I hope to see you all next time. Have a good one, everyone.
And we're back. Okay, let's
Alright.
do just a couple more. We don't want to stretch time out too far, but let's do a couple more.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's go to that far side of the table. We've been on this side for a little while. there's a couple stacks of books. Let's do the envelope that is nearest to that second stack of books. I think that might be a light blue book on the bottom. Yes, that one. So there's a little card right in front of it. Yeah, let's go with that one.
Well, this is card number 2. So this is
Ooh.
this is an early one. Oh, this is good. This is good. From Nathan Ormond. Check out his YouTube channel, Digital Gnosis. Link in description. Question: what are your deepest fears? Multiple. It's interesting that it wasn't what is your deepest fear, but what are your deepest fears? Interesting.
Yeah. Being separated from the people that I love / being alone. I think the loss of relationship is scary to me. Kind of, I guess actually it's in the same vein as that. I am afraid of like Alzheimer's, like losing my mind, losing my memory. That is a terrifying thought to me, to continue to exist but not have everything together anymore. Those are that's the deep soul ones. On maybe a less deep note, falling from heights. I don't like that. I like roller coasters. I can fly on a plane just fine. But if you put me on a ladder and it's wobbly, nope. I don't like that. Don't like that. I think I am afraid of, a real one too that I have been working on in the last couple years of my life and have seen growth in the area, but it's a pestering one still. I am a people pleaser. I want people to like me. I don't like the feeling when I know that somebody has a problem with me or that I just don't like that. So yeah, I'm afraid of when people don't like me. Then ultimately, like in my brain, that's okay. Like, I know that not everyone's going to like me, and I don't know that I want everyone to like me. But it's an uncomfortable space. It's like an awkward place to be if I know that I'm in the presence of somebody, or I'm in a situation where somebody isn't happy with me, or just doesn't like me for whatever reason. So in the workplace, that happens sometimes, and like I am aware enough where I can put the, if there's like a situation with a customer, I've got an angry customer for whatever reason, most of the time, whatever they're angry about really isn't my fault. Normally, they're not really actually angry at me personally. But I still like take it that way, or I'll still have to like, okay, I gotta go for a walk. I gotta go pray. I gotta go process for like a little bit. So yeah, I know everybody created in the image of God. We are relational beings by nature. However, many relationships we may have, or how much we think we might want or not want, relationships with people, we are just built relationally. So I think a lot of my fears just dance around that. Anything that hinders relationship or my ability to participate in healthy ones with people, or the loss of that due to death or distance or what have you. That's probably where my fears lie.
Thank you for letting us into that place, because that is a scary place. There are perhaps few deeper fears than separation and fall.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you.
let's do two more questions.
2 more sounds good. Thanks for not abandoning me and not dropping the camera. You're doing a great job of helping me avoid my fears here. So there is a plate maybe in the middle of the table. Oh no, here we go. Oh, phew, golly. Yeah, let's see. Is that a number 9 that's tucked under the plate, or a 6 or something?
Okay. Second to last question. Let's see what you got.
Let's do it.
Oh.
That sounded refreshing.
What?
That sounded refreshing.
What sounded refreshing?
Your drink.
Mm. What do you think of this?
Water.
Hmm.
What's more refreshing than that, you know?
Yeah, I really couldn't tell you.
I can tell you either, because there's nothing. Okay. Wait, was that the prompt? Am I picking a question again?
Yeah, we got to move on to the final question. Not everything on the board is a question, unfortunately, but
Oh, I see. All right. Well, here, let's go to the other side of that plate. There's like a small one near the yeah. So in proximity to that Polaroid, maybe let's do the one that's kind of tucked under the bottom of it a little bit. The one next to it on your right. Whoa. I was thinking the other way, but if the hand goes that way, that one's fine too. I was thinking, yeah, so if you go 2 over to your right. 1, yeah, that guy.
We got there. We
figured it out.
Okay. Oh, there were. I grabbed 2 accidentally.
Oh, so maybe there were supposed to be 2 questions at the end.
Yeah, that was completely accidental. Okay. From Norm, host of the Texas Yankee Workshop.
Whoa.
Question: what is your favorite tool?
I work in an office for my job. So I'm going to answer it the way it's honest to me. My favorite tool is a keyboard. I'm lightning quick on a keyboard.
Are you a keyboard warrior?
What's that?
Are you a keyboard warrior?
When I got to write emails. I don't do a lot of commenting on like social media posts. I don't get super involved in conversations online that way, because I often feel like that doesn't generate positive relational connection. If anything, it just like feeds a fight where neither side really wants to learn from the other side. And it's very sides. It's very just like a fight. So in that sense, I'm not a keyboard warrior. But I have a very clicky keyboard. I've like built my own keyboard, which I say built, I mean buy parts that I like on a mechanical keyboard so it feels and sounds the way that I like it. But yeah, I can fly through a keyboard really easily. So um, the keyboard is my favorite tool, and I do like to write, and words are powerful, and I use them in my job. So my keyboard.
Okay. Final question. From the Calvinist, a professional wrestler who has serious beef with his arch rival, San Antonio Sartori. Question. Are you suppressing the truth in unrighteousness?
Okay, that first part about the wrestler, the rival, he has beef with the other wrestler. Is that is that context for the question, or is that context for the asker of the question?
That's context for the asker of the question.
Okay, so the question alone is, am I suppressing? Sorry, give that to me again, if you don't mind.
Are you suppressing the truth in unrighteousness?
Okay. So not a lot of contextual as to what we're talking about exactly. But
I mean, we're
I
talking
would
about the truth. The truth.
the truth
Are you suppressing the truth in
in
unrighteousness?
unrighteousness. I suppose in a grand sense, I'm guilty of doing that. Um, because as a spiritual being created in the image of Yahweh, God, who is Elohim of Elohim, he is above all, and he created us in his image, and he's redeemed us, and we are a part of this storyline in the here and now. Part of having that identity of Yahweh, we were created to know God, we were created to be with God. Part of that is we were created to worship God, and people, we're doers. We're in a sense creators ourselves. Like, we can't create from nothing the same way that Yahweh is able to do, but we've got that spirit of we're putting things out into the world. We're creating, we're cultivating things like all of the time. And so our life is an act of worship in and of itself. And so we were created to worship something, and we were created to worship Yahweh. And we're in a space where it is possible for us to be worshiping something other than Yahweh. So we have one of two choices in this life, and that is we are going to be worshiping Yahweh God, or we're going to be worshiping something else. And there's no third option. There's no space where we're floating out on our own. We're just doing our own thing. We're not affecting anything around us. We're not giving our energy or our worship to something else. We are either worshiping Yahweh God, or there's something else that's filling that void instead that we're giving our like worship to. So, yeah, there are days, there are opportunities where I could be more upfront with the people that I do meet, having been somebody who said like, oh, if I could change one thing about the world, I'd make a more intimate community. Let's like have a bookstore or coffee shop, people around. So when I have opportunities to engage in times like that, when there's an opportunity to like, I don't know where this person's at with the Lord, I should, whatever it is, whatever I feel like the Lord might be leading me to do in that moment, to be the city on the hill, the light to them, however uncomfortable it might make me feel. I have had I've not always taken advantage of those opportunities, and in my own heart and life have allowed, sin to be what I'm worshiping. I'm worshiping something other than God. I'm not giving my every effort to surrender, to take up the cross every day, to let the truth have its way, in all of my words and all of my time and all of my being. So, do I suppress the truth? I do. Do I let that keep me down? I don't, because God is good, and He's there to walk the journey with us. And the goal is not to be flaky or to be wishy-washy or to dance between the two things. But the Bible is full of examples of people who suppressed the truth, and God was right there to redeem them. So for the last, to cap this episode, a quick story from the Bible. Peter is a great example of that. Jesus gave him the name Peter, from Simon to Peter, to be the rock on which the church would be built. He'd be the cornerstone of this. So that sounds like he's asserting great amount of faith into Peter to be faithful to him. And then when things are coming to the events that lead to Jesus' arrest and crucifixion, he tells Peter straight up that he's going to not only be there for him, with him, he's not going to die with him, but he's going to deny the fact that he even knows who Jesus is, which is, of course, what happens. And so Peter suppresses the truth of, I know that man, I know Jesus, and I actually know that he's the Son of God. I've seen it. I've seen him work and move, and this whole thing is ridiculous. He doesn't do that. He says that he doesn't even know who he is. Jesus dies on the cross, and when Jesus is resurrected, Jesus does not let Peter sit with that. He is very intentional to go to him and ask him 3 times, the same amount of times that he denied that he even knew who Jesus was. He gives him 3 opportunities to profess that he loves him, that he knows him and he loves him. And that's really who he is, even though in a instance he failed. His identity is not defined by the failure. It's defined by this identity that God's given him to be Peter, to be the rock, and he has what it takes through Jesus to pull that off. So I would say it's the case for all of us, but it is the case for me where, as a hymn says, "Come thou fount," prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the one I love. So my prayer should be, here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. That's a practice we got to do every day. I'm not always good at doing it every day and in every moment, but that's the heartbeat that I have to walk that way, to know that I'm prone to wander, but he's worthy of my heart and attention and my words and my direction. And yes, I will suppress the truth in unrighteousness, but that's not the final word. That's not the end of the story. And there are many times where the truth is not suppressed because the Lord has my heart.
You must be an evangelical Protestant because you're over here smuggling a gospel presentation into a game show.
Right in my back pocket. I always got it. I got a little Ziploc bag. Keep it fresh just in case you need it,
Before we go any further, we're going to smuggle in a commercial one last time.
Perfect.
Commercial.
Funding for this program was made possible by annual financial support from viewers like you.
Putting on a one-man wrestling show is no easy task. Fortunately, it's become a lot easier thanks to the invention of modern technology like this smartphone. But some things are just really hard to come by, like the right location. But I have a solution for that, and we're going to work on it today in the Texas Yankee Workshop. Hi, I'm the Nomal Sartori. You can call me Nom for short. And I'm just a Yankee living down here in Texas, trying to make things work with a little bit of Yankee ingenuity. And today, we're going to be building a portable green screen that we can use to shoot various backdrops for our wrestling program. Now, before we use any power tools, let's talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety rules that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And remember this, there is no more important safety rule than to wear these safety glasses. To begin, we want to measure the size of the doorway that we're going to be bringing our green screen through. This one's about 79 inches. So I'll cut our height a little shorter at 78. That'll give us plenty of room. We'll mark our board and cut it over at the miter saw length. Next, we'll take our cut down 2x4s and we'll rip them down on the table saw. Now, you want to make sure that you measure your fence settings, the front and the back of the blade for an accurate cut. Next, we're going to adjust the height of our blade to make sure that our 2x4s can go through smoothly without any kickbacks. Once we get the height adjusted, we'll begin ripping down our boards. Now you want to make sure that you keep your hands far away from the blade as possible. It's alright if you want to do this in 2 passes. You don't have to get your hands too close. Start ripping the board down from one side. Turn your saw off before flipping it over, and then you can finish the cut on the other side of the board. These ripped down 2x4s will make sure that our frame is nice and light and easy to move about. Here we're cutting our width to just under 8 feet for the long sides of the frame. Now we're going to take a piece of scrap 1/2-inch plywood. We'll cut both ends square. Then we're going to change the angle of the blade to 45 degrees. And make a cut on each end before putting the blade back to 0 degrees and cutting our ends square once again. This will leave us with 4 triangles, right-angled triangles, that we can use to keep our frame rigid. We're going to lay out our pieces of ripped down 2x4, and we're going to take our plywood gusset and put it on the corner to keep it square. Now we just want to put it in place and then screw it down with a few screws to make sure it stays in place. Now you're going to want to make sure that you use something to check for square and adjust accordingly. Secure all 4 corners of the frame with our plywood gusset. Then we can drive some longer screws in from the side. Now here you can see we've secured the end of our sheet between these 2 pieces ripped down from 2x4s and screwed them together to hold them tight. Now this blue color is good enough to use as a backdrop. We can change it, but for the best results, we're going to take it a step further. We're just going to get a quart of paint from down at the home center and paint our screen a nice bright green that's easy for the camera to pick up. So you see here, with just a little bit of Yankee ingenuity and some scrap material we had laying around the house, we were able to make a beautiful backdrop that we can transform into almost any setting we can imagine. I hope you've enjoyed learning about how to build a green screen today in the Texas Yankee Workshop. It was certainly a learning experience for myself, and I'm glad to see what we can do with this new bit of technology. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.
And we're back from commercial. Okay,
What a
Darren.
good commercial.
Yeah, that one, it kind of it opens up a deep place inside of me. I try not to reuse commercials, but sometimes
You just got to do what you got to do.
yeah.
Sometimes
It's
they're worthy.
Yeah, it's just like I want to be in those arms. So yeah.
I can hear Sarah McLachlan already,
yeah. So we're gonna move into the post show, Darren.
Right on.
First thing I want to say is thank you for coming and participating in the Stranger Game Show.
Wow. This has been super, super, super fun. So thanks so much for asking me to be a part of this. Thank you all for submitting questions to Ethan. I've watched so far just the first episode, but very much enjoyed it, and I'm excited to be a part of to watch this show grow and go on as well, and to be acquainted with people who start the show as strangers and finish as less as strangers. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to give any feedback on the experience?
Wow. Very fun to have a wide variety of questions and really not knowing, there's no preparation. Like, here's what you're going to be asked, so polish your answers. It's instinctual. Like, what do you think about this? How would you answer this question? So I thought it was very fun. And I like the style of the show. I like, it's kind of like letting fate, if you will, direct the show. So that was fun to see that in action with a couple story themed questions coming up in the same episode. Like that just happened. That wasn't directed. So that was pretty fun to experience.
So I'm going to undon the jacket, and the host is going to recede now. We do have one last question for you. Did you learn anything new about yourself by chance?
I would say that it affirmed that stories are near and dear to me, and they must just somehow be a part of my fabric, like woven into my identity, because they get me excited and they get me talking and they get my mind, they activate me. So as a longtime consumer of stories, I've always kicked around the idea of like, maybe I should prioritize maybe telling a story, writing a book, doing something. And that's a train I haven't sat on for very long. So I think that as I hear myself talk, it's affirming that, like, okay, that's a part of who I am. So I gotta, however that comes out, commit to telling good stories. So I'm excited for, in the last year, taking a step with Bill and Andrew to start a podcast. That's been a good exercise in doing that, telling real life stories. So that's cool. Very proud of that and excited for anybody who wants to hop into that with us too.
Are you looking for guests? Is that what you're saying? Is this a call to the Bad Takes? Yes.
Oh, this is a call for guests. So I am excited to get involved. I thank you actually again, Ethan, and I can thank you as Ethan proper since the host has retired for the moment, but for encouraging me to get involved with the landscape of the world as it is now, with so much of it in a digital space. But just because it's a digital space doesn't make it any less of a real space. There's real people there, and if we choose to engage with it, we can form real relationships and get involved in real conversations, and that's really exciting. So, yeah, on our podcast, we talk about we're pretty open. You don't have to pigeonhole it too much, but if you've got like a weird, wild experience in life, like, oh, I saw this thing one time, I went to a friend's house and I'm pretty sure it was like haunted, or like the Lord met me and I had this crazy miracle experience, or you've got real deep thoughts about cryptids, Bigfoot, or the Bible, or if you got something to say, we'd love to hop in conversation with you and give a space to chat and dialogue about the world around us. So yes, we can somehow link. We've got a website. We can maybe have you, if you would want to link that into the video, where you can submit either questions to us at the Bad Takes podcast, or whatever it is, questions, feedback on stuff you'd like to hear us talk about, or maybe talk about with us. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to get involved with you in conversation too.
Well, if you're announcing that you have just an open place to ask questions, you better watch out, because PP Poo Poo 1234 might just show up and start trolling you
something.
with all sorts of questions.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time we're trolled. Won't be the last time we're trolled. But Wizards got to face the trolls sometimes. They turn to stone by morning, though, I found. So.
Oh, are you calling out the trolls right now? Are you throwing shade on the trolls? Throwing sun on the trolls?
Yeah. Because you could troll, or you could actually get involved and ask a real question. But the choice is yours. So I'm not going to, I can't make your choices for you. But we'll be excited for any genuine questions. And if you want to troll along, we'll just see how it goes.
These are fighting words. Okay, well, you're going to get what you asked for. So we'll see what that is.
You reap what you sow. But maybe I just want to see a troll. I don't know, if I get called a wizard all the time. I want to see the I gotta see it all. The elves, hopefully, the dwarves, trolls there too.
I love it. Darren, we are no longer estranged. Thank you again.
God.
Wonderful. I truly cannot wait to be home in Wisconsin and breaking bread and drinking wine together soon in all of those ways.
Yes. Likewise, my friend. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited. We'll plug the Midwest area one more time, because I'm getting that ticket and we're going to go. So excited to be a part of that with you as well. Very, very, very honored and excited to hop into that.
Yeah, I'm honored and excited to hop into that. I've never done that, so you and I are going to do it together.
We're going to be green, going to Midwestuary.
Getting trolled real hard.
Getting trolled all the way home. Yep.
Well, may our crosses path. Ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta. Thanks, everybody.